There's a sack right there. You can see the sack.
Mm-hmm.
We have to dissect the sack. Ángeles.
¿Habla, doctor?
Sí, ayúdame. Nada más asistente. ¿Estás esperando pacientes?
Sí, es que el señor que quiere hacer cita para mañana, pero no le dio su nombre.
Entonces, espérate.
Sí. ¿Quiere un paso para muestra?
Sí, mijo, por favor.
Torture
Do you
myself.
see this?
It's disgusting.
No, it's not.
Where's your back?
Ooh. Oh my goodness. I need to like gauze this off. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope.
It's like a tree trunk.
I told you that.
Are you okay?
Goodness.
Oh!
Gee, it just came out in one big. Like it was just one.
Are you afraid to do it? I'm afraid.
Scientific to work.
Oh! Yeah, Chelsea. Yeah, you fair.
Oh my God! Yes!
Okay.
Oh my God!
Okay, that's it. That's it.
We're going to give this a little squeeze and get some of the contents out.
All right.
Wow, look at that.
Yum.
From the surface, I could just tell by the feel of what was happening, what is happening under my device, my little loop. I don't really ever know how to explain it more than that. I think it just is a function of having done, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these. You just know what you're feeling. I can almost always feel when there's still something hard underneath the surface, like that.
Cool.
So you can see that is just a chunk of dead skin cells. It's a solid mass that just couldn't find its way out of that pore. But when we started our treatments, this patient and I, her whole cheek was like this. There was really no area that was clear and free of these kinds of lesions. And to have just this few is an enormous, enormous improvement. Right, patient?
Yes.
We're very happy with the progress that's been made. That's actually a hair stuck in there. Come back later and take that out. So part of the trick of this is to figure out which direction the pore is laying in underneath the surface of the skin. So again, you can see that white stuff is, again, the dead skin cells. But pores don't necessarily, in fact, usually they don't lie perpendicular to the surface of the skin. Usually they're off at some angle underneath the skin. So when I'm using my loop, if I just press straight down, sometimes that will help to express what's inside because I'm pushing down on soft tissue and the hard skin cells which are stuck inside are standing up nice and proud for me to lift off. But more often, the pore is going off at some angle and I have to decide what that angle is, and as you see, I kind of almost milk it. I coax it out of the pore by going against that direction. That's one of the many reasons why it's virtually impossible for people to do this at home. You can never get a good enough look at this on yourself because in order to see all of the details that you need to see, you have to be able to look straight down on the pore, which really leaves you with only one option, and that is that if you have a pimple which is smack in the middle of your nose, here, and you're looking in a magnifying lamp, you may be able to look straight down on it, but aside from that, really there's no way you're going to be able to look straight down at any of these because they're off on the side of your face. So leave this to somebody who knows how to do it, and don't mangle your face by yourself. Now you see with this is actually a little network. So there are multiple pores involved in this pimple, and you can see it. You've got a pore here, pores over here, and what that means is these are all interconnected underneath the surface of the skin. The problem with something like this is that if all of these pores aren't adequately cleaned out, if any bacteria is left in any of them, this whole area can be reinfected, and this can simply reform. So it's really important when we go after this that we get out as much infection as we possibly can. This hurts, unfortunately, and you have to be a little tricky about how you go after this. So I'm carefully selecting which point I want to break into first. I almost always choose an outer pore. They're usually the easiest to open up, although as you can see, not always. So now we've got our entry point here, and when I press on this, you can start to see all that stuff coming out. And I don't know if you can tell this on the camera, but it's actually got a different texture
Yeah, you
to
can
it
see it.
even.
Yeah.
Okay? But if I press down here, you see how it's connected
Yeah.
because you see what's coming out up here. So, there's our proof that this is a network. So I want to push as much up as I can. Get as much out as I can. And then you'll see this is much more isolated
Yeah.
as an independent lesion as opposed to simply being part of this big network.
So does that mean there's a ton of stuff in that center one?
Sure does.